Hello, I'm Reverend Donald Bragg. I'm pastor of Parsippany Presbyterian Church. On our church grounds, we have a number of historic buildings and burials as well. We have an extensive cemetery. We began burying people, family members, here in the mid-1700s. Since the time of the Civil War, we have taken time out each year to honor those who have served our country, starting with names that date back to the Revolutionary War. These people served our country. Louis Baker, Ezekiel Baldwin, Job Baldwin, Silas Baldwin, Isaac Beach, Edward Cobb Sr., Colonel Lamel Cobb, Thomas Cobb, Thomas Compton, Moses Crane, Bethel Ferrand, Daniel Ferrand, Phineas Ferrand, Samuel Ferrand, John Fox, Nathaniel Gaines, Jonathan Gaines, John Hayward, Isaac Headley, John David Hennion Sr., Benjamin Howell, Jeremiah Howell, Abraham Kitchell, Edward Paddleford, John Pollard, Josiah Quimby, Jasper Ryder, Benjamin Smith, Hiram Smith, Jonathan Stiles, Captain John Stiles, James Thomas, Noadiah Thomas, Caleb Tuttle. These men served in the Revolutionary War.
These soldiers served in the War of 1812. Thomas Cobb, Daniel DeHart, Nathaniel O. Condit, Daniel Farrand, Ebenezer Smith, Thomas Willis, and John Winslow. The Mexican-American War, Malin Barton. The Civil War, Joseph Bastido, George Bowlesby, Herman Cisco, Marcus Dixon, John B. Estile, John W. Estile, George H. Evans, William H. Gillespie, Edwin D. Green, Josiah Q. Grimes, Samuel B. Harrison, John Massacre, Ranson D. Mattoon, Simon McKay, William J. McPeak, Amos H. Mulford, David A. Pollard, Thompson B. Pollard, William S. Reed, Jacob H. Roach, Benjamin S. Stites, Moses L. Tickener, Elijah S. Trelease, George W. Trelease, Walter K. Trelease, Joseph G. Vanderhoof, Edmund Van Orden, Jacob Voorhees, Andrew Cobb Waddell, and Amos Wetmore.
These soldiers served in World War I. Edgar D. Barton, Clarence Brush, Colonel Maurice Morrissey Glass, Robert C. Cole, Lester Dickinson, Frederick Deitch, Frederick Dixon, Horace Dodd, Norman V. Grimes, Roy H. Hall, Harriet LaHart Hatch, John LaHart, John Allen Talmadge, William J. Tuttle, Adam C. Walker, Walter F. Van Treek, Harrison Friedland.
These people served in World War II. Lieutenant William V. Applegate, Howard S. Baldwin, John L. Baldwin, George R. Bates, Edward Bremer, Donald B. Bracken, Colonel Maurice Morrissey Class, Calvin L. Ellis, Lieutenant Colonel Adolf Entwistle, Edward Fee Jr., Reverend Benjamin Pearson Ford III, Anthony Guida, Donald C. Guida, Charles Heckman, Robert W. Hintz, Edmund G. Hintz, Russell Hollister, John B. Howell, Samuel Ferrand Harold Jr., Emil Jensen, John S. Kinnick, George Nipshield Jr., Frederick C. Lutter, Joseph Magg, Vincent Matalano, Arnold Monteculo, Charles O. Mond, George Mulville, Philip Paulmeyer, Shirley Paulmeyer, Frank Siricasano, George Steinert, Richard Thompson, Lowell J. Tuttle, John M. Tuttle. Buried overseas: Edward M. Craig, Samuel L. Craig, Robert W. Van Fleet. Lost overseas: Elmer H. Barlow, Andrew Blatt, Wilbur Arthur Randolph, George Vierland. The Korean War: Richard L. Baldwin, Cyril Bindis, Colonel Maurice Morrissey, Gerard Du Bois Jr., Colonel Adolf Entwistle, Samuel F. Gerber, George N. Hintz, Frank Crozer, Richard Dottie Smith, Frank Whitfield Laird Terhune Jr. These people served our country faithfully, and we're appreciative of their service.